Well, welcome back, boys and girls. My special guest today is George Francis III. How you doing, George?
I'm doing just fine.
Where do you attend school?
Well, I go to Southfield School here in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Were you born here in Shreveport?
No, I was born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. My dad bought a radio station, as you know, KRMD radio. I decided to, I came down here to see the station, and I liked the station, and I liked Shreveport, so I just decided to stay here.
Oh, you had a choice there, Mr. Francis?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Well, what hobbies are you into?
Well, just like y'all here, I'm into television, of course, and I like doing television. I have a studio in my house in North Carolina, which I used to tape newscasts on in various programs.
You want to show us a little shot of the studio?
I have a picture here of my studio here, and we get a shot of that.
Okay, and you know, I like to let all the students, young people, kind of do their own thing, and since George was into television there, he wanted to interview Sergeant Safety on the Sergeant Safety program. So I'm just going to turn it over to George Francis III here and let him interview Sergeant Safety.
Thank you, Sergeant Safety. I've waited all this time for this moment. The reason why I wanted to interview you is because I wanted the kids to know you and see your views on things. So I'd like to start off to ask you, how many years have you been on the police department or in the police department?
19 years.
You have? Well, what do you have to do to become a police officer?
Number one, before you can even ask for an application, you must have a 12th grade diploma. Then you fill out the application, and you have to have 3 letters of recommendation from people that have known you for at least 5 years that are not related to you. You take a civil service test, and you have to make a minimum of 75. Then you will be required to take a polygraph test, a lie detector test. The second test you will take is a psychological test to see if you have the right personality to be a police officer. This is kind of a new test. The last test is your physical. And when they call you and tell you to go to the doctor, you can bet you're going to be hired as a police officer. And then you will be asked to report to the academy on Monday morning, and you will have many hours of classroom work, learning laws, Supreme Court rulings, how to make rec reports, all types of reports. You will learn how to use the firearms, and
which is the guns, right?
Right. It's not like cowboys on TV. We have rules that we have to follow in using the firearms. You have to learn all those rules, and actually a school on all equipment that policemen wear. The baton, how to use handcuffs, how to transport prisoners. After you complete the academy, you're then assigned in patrol. Some young people think, hey, I want to be an investigator, you know.
Yeah.
They
don't realize the work that goes into it.
Right. You are required to ride in patrol. You'll be assigned with a training officer, and he will evaluate you, and you're actually on probation for 6 months. And once you've completed your probation time, then they start assigning you to a patrol unit.
Okay. Well, we're all familiar with the famous speeding ticket, but besides speeding tickets, what else does a police officer do in the line of duty?
Well, sometimes you hear citizens say, you know, policemen should be looking out for burglars instead of speeders and this, but we have to do it all. There's actually more people killed in car accidents than there is in when burglaries are being committed. But we as police officers have to do many jobs. I'm in safety education. We have officers in ID, fingerprint. But first of all, you've got to serve your time as a patrolman, and then you can ask for a transfer into these departments if they have an opening. And sometimes if the opening becomes someone wants to transfer back in patrol, there'll be an opening. They'll put out the information that there is an opening, and you can apply for it.
Okay, what does a police officer, okay, let's say this. What did you do before you came into safety work? And
I rode in patrol. That's the only thing I ever did in police work before. Well, I was on a 30-day training program. I worked in the detective office for about 30 days, but I rode 13 years on patrol out on the street.
Well, what would you say is the most rewarding thing about your job as a police officer and teaching safety?
Most rewarding thing is when I see the boys and girls working hard in school, making their grades, and now I've been on long enough that some of the children, or if they were children going to school, now I see them, they come by and tell me where they're working and show me their newborn baby and all that. That's my reward now.
So obviously you enjoy doing this.
Yes, I do.
How long have you been doing this program, the Sergeant Safety Program?
About 4.5 years now.
Okay, what would you, getting into something else here, what would you tell a student or a child or a teenager, what would you tell them if they were going to drink and drive? Would you tell them to do it or wait or what?
Well, I would sit down as a parent, I would sit down with my son, a daughter, which I did with my son, and talk to him about alcohol and the responsibility of driving an automobile. Mm-hmm. In other words, make your decisions and your plans before you go to your parties. Because, I mean, I realized that my son was going to go to some parties and he was going to drink alcohol. And I told him, you call your daddy and I will come and get you. And I think that the parents that don't talk to their students about this, or their children, this is losing communication with them. Good communications, and a grown-up should know that their children are going to try alcohol. It's illegal.
Such as the contracts that they have with calling your parents and things.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you this, Sergeant Safety. If I was addicted to drugs or alcohol, how should I go about getting some help, or should I try to solve it on my own?
You should go talk with your parents. There are several locations in Shreveport that can help you with your problem, but it's a decision that you and your parents should make together, whatever's the best for the family.
I've got one question that I wanted to ask you. If you could go to the moon with anybody, who would it be with?
If I could only take one person, I'd have to take my wife.
Why?
Well, we've been together 29 years now, and so I think I'd want to keep her with me.
Okay, well, thanks for that important information. It looks like we're just about out of time.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the program.
Well, thank you, Sergeant Safety. I'd like to thank you and Cablevision of Shreveport for making this, for giving me this opportunity to be on your program. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, and we'll be back right after this.